Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all having a fantastic evening. Tonight I'm going to be doing a review of a comedy from Norway, Norwegian language English subs, released in the year 2007, directed by Bent Hammer. And this film is called Horten. And the story to Horten is as follows. Odd Horten has been driving trains all of his life. It's all he knows and what he loves in life, and he's never considered what comes afterwards. The moment that a train leaves the station without Horten at the controls, he realizes that his life is changing and there's nothing he can do to control it. He embarks on a series of comic adventures and misadventures that teaches him a lot about his own life. The film is a gently deadpan comedy that exudes a real affection for its eccentric central character. The support cast will also be familiar to those who enjoy the Scandinavian cinema with a twist. Horten is Bent Hammer's wonderfully skewed view of the human condition and gives us that somewhat absurdist vision with great warmth and universal appeal. So the movie is about Odd Horten, who is an elderly train driver who's coming to the end of his time as a train driver. So 40 plus years, he's coming to an end, he has to retire. So he's a little bit scared about what life is going to be like after train driving, but he doesn't want to think about it. What he wants to think about is his last day, and he's going to do one last train drive. So for reasons that I'm not going to go into, he turns up late to his train and he realizes that the train's gone off without him. So basically this is it. He's come to the sudden realization that nothing is, basically going to be the same ever again. So he walks back to his house and he's very down about what he wants to do. He just feels like he's going to wither away because he's got no enthusiasm, that everything that he knew and everything that made him who he was to do with trains. So he starts to get a little bit depressed about this, but that is until he meets some very eccentric characters who show Odd that there is a lot more to life than just trains. And he goes on some very comical adventures and misadventures that teaches him a lot about himself and other people as well. So whether or not Odd can get some renewed passion for life, that's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Horten. I had no idea what to expect with this one, but I feel that this is a film that needs to be seen by everybody. Now, if you don't like subtitles, I would still say definitely go and see it, because this is comedy of an art form that has been forgotten. When it comes to comedy these days, it's all about the American, Australian, British humour, about laughing at somebody, about really vulgar jokes. Nothing ever seems to be smart anymore. As in, don't get me wrong, I don't feel that this type of humour is crap. I appreciate this type of humour. I think there is a place for this type of humour. But it's all about this now. It's all about laughing at, somebody's, being handicapped, or somebody's misfortune. It's always at somebody. Not every single film, but a lot of these movies. And if it's not laughing at somebody, it's about trying to sleep with the best looking girl and the misadventures that come, while you're trying to score that beautiful chick. And it's all about not really respecting an individual. It's not about the human condition. It's all about being funny, and that's all it is. And it's exaggerated to the point where you're watching a comedy. It doesn't feel like you're watching a real life experience. And that sort of art form, as far as comedy is concerned, is where deadpan is. Deadpan is much more serious, and you get the feeling that it is just everyday sort of life. And it's an art form that's really not recognized in the United States. As I said, it's not all about what I just said. There are some films here and there that do show a lot of deadpan stuff, but it's few and far between, whereas in Europe, and more specifically Scandinavia, it is very deadpan. And Horten is a classic case of deadpan comedy, which is not going to appeal to everybody, but if you want something a little bit different, Horten is definitely one to see. So it is a very, very serious kind of comedy, but having said that, it's very funny. But it's definitely a movie that applies to a very acquired taste. It's a movie that is not going to appeal to all senses of humour. It's definitely a movie that you have to have the right sort of mindset going into it. So what I mean by that is that all the characters are very serious. They've got very blank expressions. They're not trying to be funny. It's not force-fed. It's very natural and unique. And it's just a feeling that you're watching a real-life event. You're watching someone's life really unfold, but it's just got that touch of humour here and there that lighten up the mood. But it doesn't lighten up the mood to the fact that it kind of gives the impression that it's a full-on comedy. It feels like it's a drama with really funny moments in it. And Horten is definitely a classic case of that. Bent Hammer, I haven't seen any of his other films, but I've been told that he is a very good at what he does, and this is proof of that, and that you've got these real characters that you can relate to. It doesn't feel like you're watching a comedy. It doesn't feel like you're watching a movie as such. It feels like you're watching someone who you can relate to. The main character is played superbly. I can't recall his name, but he does a fantastic job at creating a really, really likable character. And he's not a caricature, which a lot of other comedy films do. They use caricatures and exaggerate it to the point where you're just laughing. But in this movie, it's a real character, as I said, with touches of humour thrown here and there. It's not excessive in the humour, but when it does happen, it's very funny. And I thought the script in this film was superb. Thought the acting, not only from the main character, was absolutely fantastic. They all supported each other very well. Very eccentric film. The characters, although they are deadpan, they're quite bizarre, but they're not, as I said, they're not caricatures, they're real people. And it shows you, it's a thought-provoking film as well, because on one hand you've got really funny moments that are happening, but on the other hand it's a life drama. It's a drama about the human condition and about how we react to things out of our comfort zone. When you come to the realization that life has to change, and how scary that can be, and that's the relatable quality that you get in the film. It's a very human quality, and that's something that you don't get in a lot of comedies. And I think that Bent Hammer in this film, he joined both of those elements together very, very well. They intertwine with each other, and it doesn't feel like it gets stuck. It doesn't feel like it doesn't know where it's going. It always knows where it's going. It has control, and you go along with the ride, and it's a very enjoyable ride. I thought cinematography was excellent, typical Norwegian cinematography, very cold and harsh, but at the same time beautiful. It's during the Norwegian winter where it's very snowy. And I thought the soundtrack was fantastic, very uplifting, very upbeat, very quirky, and it just contributed to a very quirky and eccentric experience, but it's an experience that I wasn't expecting, and it's the type of humour that doesn't come around very often these days. So all in all, it's a very, very enjoyable film. I really liked it, and I would highly recommend it to anybody out there who's a fan of comedy, who is looking to branch out into different aspects of comedy. And if you're a little bit sick of just the repetitive nature of American, Australian, and British comedy, then Horten is definitely one I would recommend to check out. Very, very clean fun. Although it's rated MA15+, there's no violence, there's no sex, there's no vulgarity. There's a little bit of nudity, but it's not gratuitous and it's not done in a funny way. It's just a comedy that the whole family can enjoy. It's very deadpan, very clean humor, which to me is the hardest humor to achieve. And because he achieved it so well, I can't recommend this film enough. And overall, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I will see you guys later. Bye.